It is 2 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started while people are logging in. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for this presentation about apprenticeships and the KCMA apprenticeship program. As is always the case with webinars, you can see and hear us, but we cannot see and hear you. That doesn't mean we don't want this program to be interactive. However, there are a couple surveys that will pop up on or polls that will pop up on your screen. So please feel free to engage with that. And certainly if you have questions anytime during the presentation, feel free to use the Q&A box to ask those questions, or simply raise your hand and we can open your microphone. That all being said, Brent, I am going to turn the program over to you for introductions and to get us going.
Thank you. Good afternoon or good morning, as the case may be. I'm Brent Weil. I am a subject matter expert with an organization called Jobs for the Future, which is a nonprofit organization that exists to support public-private partnerships and really building kind of workforce we need, getting a diverse and qualified workforce in, and specifically I'm focused on apprenticeships and what that means for kitchen cabinet makers. And so I'm super excited to continue our conversation around apprenticeship and how it can really work for KCMA members, how it can work for you. And we have have a chance to walk through that and really hear from a couple of companies that are working on making apprenticeship work within their spaces to be able to solve some workforce challenges. Had a chance to meet several KCMA members and to attend the spring conference in Austin, which was an incredible opportunity to continue to engage with KCMA and really understand the workforce challenges we're facing and solutions that can be there. Want to really give my hats off to KCMA and Betsy Natz and all the KCMA leadership and board for taking this on and making it a priority, and we're really seeing some things come into fruition. And so there's a chance to really understand that, come together on common solutions and make something that really does work for you. And look forward to that conversation. Want to say, if you do have any comments, please put them in the Q&A. We'll get to them in the midst of it, or certainly at the end, we'll have a chance to be able to review and discuss those matters. Before we jump right into the heart of it, though, I did want to introduce the distinguished panelists that we have, Shania Cunha and Corey Christmas. Would you two introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, my name's Shania. I'm a human resource manager here at Master Millwork. We are a millwork construction company in the New England area for commercial spaces like hotels, apartment complexes, things like that. And this is our first time getting into an apprenticeship.
Hey everyone, my name is Corey Christmas. I am Director of Training and Development with Highline Warren. Highline Warren, we are a manufacturer and distributor of automotive chemicals and aftermarket parts. So if you have a car, you might have oil in it from one of our facilities or part on it from one of our distribution centers. We actually just recently launched a nationwide apprenticeship program this past year.
So, Corey, thanks for joining us and giving your time to this. We're all kitchen cabinet makers here, an automotive parts company. Why have you chosen to join us and share some of your knowledge? Corey, can you hear me? I just was asking, why you've come on this to talk to a bunch of kitchen cabinet makers.
Oh, sorry about that. I think although the industries are different, the challenges might be the same in terms of finding talent and then also upskilling them rather quickly. So I think that's where the commonality lies between, aftermarket or manufacturing and the roles that you guys are fulfilling.
Well, we're really glad, Shania and Corey, that you've joined this conversation. I know you have a lot to offer about what this really means within manufacturing and what that's all about. we're going to jump into why we would want to be doing an apprenticeship. But first, we'd like to hear from you on this webinar. What is your current role within the company? Looks like HR is leading the way. The operations in the mix, one other. So definitely looks like this is really hitting around HR, but operations is there too. One of the things that we've seen, I'll let you, as you continue to answer, to take time to answer this, is that to really execute an effective workforce strategy, it does, of course, take HR that is going to be managing applicants and what it means for how we're paying people. But operations, this is is absolutely everything that's matters for them in terms of productivity and the roles that we offer and mentoring people, training, of course. And certainly the management of the company, all to be part of that. So appreciate that, and I'll go ahead and share then the results that we have. So a majority of you are from HR, but also a good showing from operations. So hopefully this will really speak to the challenges that you are facing. I can tell you that across manufacturing, it's certainly something that we've seen from across KCMA membership, is that there are really significant challenges more than ever before. In most cases, people are saying, in finding quality candidates and keeping them forward. And y'all are doing the things around, okay, let's do outreach. Let's find as many people as we can. Let's get resumes in, more resumes in, more resumes in. Shania, I think we discussed too that master millwork, you put out there all you want to try to find people, but are there enough people to be able to fill the jobs that we need?
No, especially with what we do, you definitely have to have a certain type of background and knowledge within carpentry and millwork and wood finishes and all that. So it's been very tough to find people with that knowledge.
So especially, that's a great point. And so especially what we found is no matter how many resumes you pull, first of all, are they people that have the kind of experience we want, or and if not, maybe we need a better way that can help us to train the people then to be able to do the kinds of skilled jobs that we needed. And maybe in the past we could find carpenters, or we could find people who had experience working with their hands. Now we've got to focus on, especially on, okay, we're not going to be able to build enough resumes to fill all those positions. How do we train up for those things that are there? So some lessons that really we've seen across manufacturing, and I think they do hold true here. Certainly, as we worked with the membership to really understand things, hosting and praying for that unicorn who knows cabinetry, knows carpentry, even is skilled in manufacturing processes. Those are few and far between, and even people don't. Corey, you're on that automotive side. Like, it used to be, people worked on their cars. Probably not so many people are even doing that anymore, right? So, hosting and praying for somebody who can maintain our equipment or do manufacturing processes is a losing game. You should keep doing all those outreach efforts, but there's got to be some other ways. The second thing is that all of our positions do require skill. They do, even entry-level positions, the more training you do, the better off you are. Plus, there are ways maybe to grow people from shipping and other kinds of entry level into our more skilled kinds of positions. So looking at it that way, people do tend to look for a career path. So everything we can do to train up our workers, let them see that they're not just coming and getting an hourly wage, but that we're investing in their career. This is all the places that you can go within the company can really pay off. And a final element really is that no matter where they are in the company, that mentorship can mean a whole lot. It's starting out in manufacturing is not always the easiest thing to do. We're starting in a new position, and so what we have in place to help mentor people is really important as well. That's been driving things. And the other piece that we've been able to help KCMA members to identify is that there's often going to be support for training your incumbent workers, sometimes training incoming workers as well, especially when it's tied to a registered apprenticeship program. So for all of those reasons, we embarked over the last several months with KCMA and a committee of board members on an apprenticeship that will help to address some of these key challenges with some significant aims. One is that we've certainly heard that turnover is a significant problem, that in two ways, we might be having retirees, baby boomers, for example, and people that are retiring out. And so losing some of that talent and wanting to make, so that kind, but also where we have people that have been coming in, we get them started and I don't know, Shania, have you ever seen anybody ghost, or Corey, have you seen anybody ghost? Or, so they've started, they leave, so how do you maintain people coming through? Second is, what can we be doing to increase quality, the quality of our workforce, but also the quality of their output? So, how the kind of training and expectations and quality control that we could put in. The third is to support recruitment. And that really gets to when people know that they're coming into a career that we find that more people tend to apply for those kinds of positions. It's easier to do that kind of outreach, maybe working with schools in your area to be able to recruit. So those are some of the reasons why we embarked on an apprenticeship program as one strategy for you to be able to execute in your area to get that workforce you need. And by the way, there often is funding to help you along the way. And so one of our goals is to help support you get that funding as well. But let's not get ahead of it. So these were some of those areas that we saw. We did want to do one more poll. What are your greatest workforce challenges? Finding entry workers, recruiting skilled workers, that turnover, or specifically looking at people nearing their retirement? It's neck and neck right now. Looks like definitely the far and away the biggest one is recruiting those skilled workers. And then the next one is that people entering toward their retirement with turnover next. And then the last one is finding those entry-level workers. So that's great for sharing. An apprenticeship program is something that really gets to all of those things I mentioned around, we can't always find a skilled worker with all the skills we need, but what can we do to take somebody who's partway there and complete that training is one key thing that's all about what an apprenticeship is be able to set to do. So what then, when we talk about apprenticeship, what are we talking about? Apprenticeship is, it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's really a highly structured and effective tool for building a skilled workforce. And we're going to see it has some key components. The most important thing to realize is that it really lays out in a very coherent way what people need to know to be fully productive in their position. And a couple of the key parts are that we're mapping out what their on-the-job training looks like. So the skills and competencies that they're learning while they're working, that we want to make sure that they're covering over the course of the period of their apprenticeship period. And then what kind of theoretical knowledge, safety, things that we're able to teach them about mathematics and technical skills that they would be learning through a classroom or online, off the not on the job, but that related instruction that makes that work. And that is like that secret sauce, so that you put these things together is really a tried and true method for being able to work that way. One of the things that we've heard a lot of times is what this may not represent your situations, but we often hear that when we have somebody new, that the on-the-job training tends to be something like, Joe's one of our best workers. He's a supervisor. He's he's a skilled finisher. He's been around for a really long time. He knows everything there is to know. Follow Joe around. He's going to teach you everything you need to know. And that can work, but sometimes we're missing a couple steps. For example, Joe may really be superb at finishing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's great at teaching those skills and competencies to somebody else, or has that patience to do it, or that mentoring ability. The second thing is, if Juanita is new and following Joe around, and he's showing her the ropes for a couple of weeks and getting her acclimated to everything, then when something comes up on the floor, there's an emergency or something has to happen, or a customer issue, then the first, Joe's so good, you probably need Joe. You probably need Joe to kind of address some of those other things. So you ask, well, can Juanita do it? Well, yeah, she's good. She could do it while in here. She's got it. And then, first of all, she may or may not have it, but even if she does, if you're now taking Joe away from that environment all the time, then oftentimes it's really hard to go back for Joe to be back there to really complete that training with Juanita. So that's something we've seen. Shania or Corey, does that resonate with some of the things that you've seen, and kind of how maybe that on-the-job training might happen for employees without a kind of structured program?
All the time, that's our main way of training, is just partnering people up with people that know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And we're hoping that, our Joes are providing promising practices and not anything other. So that structure is very critical.
So Joe may be great, but they might need more support. We also might need some more ways to get more Joes out there to be able to help and to be able to structure things. So that's what the apprenticeship is all about. An apprenticeship is not more of that seat of your pants, let's follow Joe around. It's really designed to make that structured program. And what makes it a little bit different from, say, just a regular internship or your normal training, first of all, in all cases, these are paid workers. When we talk about an apprentice, it is not an unpaid intern or anything like that. These are your workers. You are bringing them in for the long term. So that's one thing that's part of it. Second is, you've really defined out what the on-the-job training is going to look like. What are those skills and competencies that people have, that people need to know over the course of their time as an apprentice, that when they're done, they are fully competent. You're going to be excellent workers on the job. And with that, then, related instruction, as I noted, that can be everything from a community college courses, which Corey, I'm pretty sure Highline Warren is largely focused on. It can be online training. It could be a mix of that. It could be your own trainer in the break room or training room that you're offering. But that defines out also the things that they're not going to learn just from working on the job. It might be things like math and doing fractions, your OSHA training, all of that related instruction that's there. A key thing is that you are rewarding these employees with these apprentices with pay increases as they're earning their productivity. So in a one-year apprenticeship, you might have just that at the end of that, when they're successful, they get a promotion or they get a raise. There are multi-year apprenticeships, and there oftentimes people are getting raises every 6 months to a year based on their completing what they need to do in the apprenticeship, and that gives them ownership and something to be working toward, and really recognizing their growth. And that makes sense, because you are then paying people as they are becoming more productive for you. The other thing is that they're earning a credential. It's a sanctioned credential that comes. You don't have to. Nowadays, everything is done electronically. So there's when people do earn their apprenticeship, they get a certificate. You can email it to them, but we always recommend that the best thing to do is get really nice paper and print it up, and maybe have a ceremony and really recognize when people have have completed their apprenticeship, that can be a really great motivator and a chance, and something that people really do work for. With all that said, it is actually adaptable and flexible to what you need. We're going to share how KCMA has gone about through a finishing occupation to identify kind of a standard that's there, but you can adapt that, make it work for what you're doing. That's actually something, Shania, that we've been doing with Master Millwork right now, right? Is building that out to what is going to, match where your things are. So we know that there are a number of jobs that you all have. We've looked at really what those critical occupations are. And the first one that KCMA tackled together was for finishers. So we actually have drafted standards that are specific to cabinet making, specific to KCMA. Again, you can adjust them and make them work for you, but we've built that out in ways that are there for you to take and use. You're able to bring that in, adjust it, and then work with us, and how then you start up an apprenticeship with that. There are some other critical occupations. We certainly have heard that industrial maintenance technicians, and millwrights are really big within that. Installers, we know there are certainly other ones that are there for you. And the good news is that there are existing occupations that have been built out with those standards. That can be a template for you to use. As a matter of fact, Highline Warren is doing with industrial maintenance. And so, as for example, and that those are there for you as well. So together, KCMA as committees are working to build out those additional ones. But the good news is that that we can work with you right now and take a look at what's out there for those kind of other kinds of occupations to be able to take a look at and use for what that is. So let's get into then what it means then to have an apprenticeship and what that means. For KCMA, we did this for the cabinet finisher. We adapted an occupation in coatings and finishings, which built out then a 1-year apprenticeship. That means that it should take about a year for somebody who's working full time to be able to get through it. But we built it out as a competency-based apprenticeship, which means that they really needs to take at least a year. But if they have to demonstrate their ability and their knowledge and ability to perform in the key areas for that occupation for them to complete it. So if it takes them 15 months, it'll take them 15 months to be able to do, but they can do it as quickly as a year. And there's a lot of detail behind it, but the main areas that are covered in it are, first of all, safety above all else. So really demonstrating safe operation and awareness. Communications, including reading blueprints and reading plans, in being able to communicate safety, be able to communicate customer needs, machinery setup and operations. Of course, you've got the actual sanding, painting, finishing, and being able and demonstrating that you can do all of those things. Inspecting of the products, in some cases mixing. Not all of our some KCMA. Some of you reported that mixing is part of what your finishers are doing. I think, Shania, that Master Millwork, you have a different department that does that. So we just X that out. We put something else in. And what the apprenticeship has done then is it puts out the on-the-job training with all those areas in it. And then the instruction piece that people are getting, the theory behind those pieces, especially things like some math and communications, the basic chemistry, some awareness of inspection and machinery. So that lays those things out there in a way that you're able to take, and that related instruction you could take to a community college and have them do that, or there are some other needs to be able to do it as well. When we set it up this way, then reasons that apprentices would really be interested in taking part in this. One is they do get that career path. It's not just a job. The second is that they really do get structure and and paid on the job training that will help them in their career. They know they're getting those wage increases and what it takes to progress. They're getting that ongoing skill development. We're able to offer a portable industry recognized credential. They get that mentoring and coaching. It really is part of having a culture of continuous learning within the company. So with that, would really love to hear from Shania and Corey about your experiences so far with registered apprenticeship and how it's going to work. Shania, does my description match what you've been going through as you go about setting up your apprenticeship?
Yes, definitely. Like I mentioned before, this is something totally new for us. We have never done any type of training program or just program like this in general. All of our training has been just, again, partnering up with that department manager and just, being extremely hands-on, hoping that this new employee is taking notes throughout the whole thing and, actually being able to understand it. So going into this, we were definitely very blind and had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. But Brent has been great with setting us up for success, breaking down absolutely every step of the process, meeting with us bi-weekly to go over each step and just really attacking it piece by piece. They also provide a network of other programs that help you maintain your apprenticeship, keep track of all the hours, their classes if, you're doing the actual classroom training. There's also other ones to help with feedback from, the mentors to the apprentices and all that good stuff. So we're still putting everything together, but it's been very helpful to have help literally every step of the way, especially with the 1,000,010 questions that I'm asking every single time we're on a call.
So I'd like to start some discussion questions with Corey and Shania. Corey, tell us about your apprenticeship program. Why did you choose to go into to do a registered apprenticeship?
For us, primarily, one of the reasons we started was we're really having a hard time sourcing skilled maintenance mechanics to work within our facilities. If you've been in a manufacturing space, there are lines, conveyors, racks, things moving all around the facility. And if one becomes, if a part breaks or if it pauses, literally the entire facility is at a standstill. Nothing's moving. And, from that point, the cost per item goes up. So just like you guys were mentioning earlier, we couldn't really cast our nets and find talent in the space. So we really wanted to go and take control of that ourselves and contribute to that as much as we could. I would echo Shania there in terms of partnering with Brent specifically, really looking at how we were training our mechanics and standardizing that structure so it'd be the same across our facilities. We did kind of have somewhat of a go follow Joe type of format before, but it's great to know that we have a succinct structure that each of our apprentices and mentors will follow as they learn their roles and are being paid for that while they're there. So the other thing that was great, and we did have a state specific program, and this is kind of a bit more than this particular event, but now that we're a national program, those folks that did graduate from our initial apprenticeship programs, they're still with us. At least since I've been employed with the organization, we've graduated 5 apprentices, and all of them are still working with the organization. So that retention is huge, and they're also our future mentors. So when the next group comes through, we really want to lean on them to help show them the ropes, just as someone was gracious enough to work with them.
Corey, what are your goals?
Our goals, now that we kind of have this new standardized program, we wanted to definitely grow to at least 20 apprentices across our footprint. by the end of next year. And of course, with that, we definitely want to see the retention rate increase, if you will. So stop seeing the turn. In many cases, when folks come in, they don't feel adequately prepared that they'll turn within 30 days. What we found is our sweet spot is if we can get them to hang tight beyond a year, they'll likely stay with us. We lose most people within the first year of employment. So yeah, that's kind of what we're shooting for.
Now, you've talked about this a little bit, but you want to dig in a little bit deeper why you think registered apprenticeship is a good solution?
I'm sorry, you broke up. Did you say me?
Yes, I did. Sorry.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
No, you're good. Um, yeah, it's, again, to go off of what Corey said and what we talked about before, just finding people that have the skills that we actually need. Especially with what we do in millwork, people knowing wood and wood finishes and the different machinery that we're using and even with finishing the different paints and all of that stuff, it's a very niche field, I guess you could say. And it's very hard to come by. And for us, we are definitely huge on investing in our employees, making sure everybody has that equal opportunity to be able to grow and learn in their department and even other departments that we have and be able to venture out and just really get a full understanding of us and what we do. And we think that the apprenticeship program is going to be a great way to train our current employees, but also anybody new that's coming in to be able to really learn the ins and outs of their position, their department, and just the company as a whole. So we're just really looking forward to the whole growth aspect of it for not just us as a company, but for our employees.
Betsy, did you really your perspective is invaluable, and you've done so much to bring this to fruition. Did you have a hand up?
Yeah, sorry. I was just typing, just so that the others that are on the Zoom can get a fuller picture. It sounds like a lot goes into the front end planning and execution. So my question is, how long does it take to actually launch a program like this? And what do you see kind of the end game being in terms of number of apprentices and so on and so forth? To anyone.
Now, you want to talk about we started working about 3 months ago.
Yeah, I'd say about beginning, middle of summer, give or take.
And we're to a place now where you've refined out that occupation and we're about to submit that for approval, right?
Yes, it's just kind of putting all the final details together and basically making it look pretty to be able to submit it.
And then we'll get it back. So I'd say probably 4 or 5 months in your case, and it's likely to be up and running.
Now, is
You want to
that
speak a
being
little bit to your goals? And
pardon me? Go
go ahead,
ahead.
Betsy. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to get to your question of, the kind of scale then that you envision, how many apprentices you're thinking about at Master Millwork. What are your goals for that?
Yeah, I mean, for right now, since again, we're in the beginning stages, we've never done anything like this. We definitely, um, in a sense, want to start off small, just maybe one or two people, just so we can really understand and learn the whole program ourselves. And um, I don't want to say use it as like a trial run because that kind of sounds bad for the apprentice, but in a sense, kind of use it as like a trial run so we know what we need to do, not need to do, all that good stuff. And then hopefully within, after the first year of, having our current apprentices kind of graduate from it, then really broadening it into other departments within the shop and even within the field. So that way we can really perfect those positions as well. So over time, we definitely would like to open it up to various departments within the company. I would say is the biggest end goal.
Sounds great. And then you'll come up with a mechanism of marketing the program.
Yeah, over time for sure.
Yeah.
Corey, you want to talk a little bit about what you've done in at Highland Warren to market that, to build that out to your other locations?
Sure. It took us about 5 months to working with Brent from, the start to getting it approved. I think it was like June to November. But we really spent a lot of time on the on-the-job training and the related instruction. So that's where most of the time was spent. Once we, got the program up and running, because we are in various states, we reached out to a variety of networks. So one, local community colleges to promote the program. We worked through Goodwill Industries to source talent. We work with state workforce development boards to source talent. Um, it, what was the other one I'm thinking? The National Urban League organization within these states to source talent. So, we're really at a point where we can't throw our jobs for us specifically on LinkedIn and get a reply. So we're looking at how do we get in front of the potential employees. That's job fairs on campuses and with partner organizations. That's what we've done to kind of get out in front of the talent that we're trying to find, and kind of have them at least come in and tour and get a realistic preview of what the work looks like, and then help them make a decision from there.
Oh, that's a great idea. Tours.
What we find in most people, they have an idea of what manufacturing is like. And when they see how vast and huge it is, they're like, oh wow, this is much bigger than I thought. So it's
Yeah.
pretty nice.
Great.
Can we talk a little bit about there is considerable planning put together in it, and I'm not going to minimize that. On the other hand, well, we know y'all do training, you have to hire people, so probably 80%, and usually 80 people are already doing 80% of this as it is to get going. But do you want to speak a little bit about what is involved in getting something up and running, Corey? Maybe like what it looks like when you're dealing with a new location that's starting it up. What's involved in that? And it sounds like a lot, but there's great benefits to it. And really, when you structure it and plan it out, I don't think it has to be all encompassing.
Right, you're right, and it's the things that our teams are already doing to source talent, as you say. We partner with operations, human resources and operations to one, find the talent. So going out into the fields, reaching out to different organizations, finding people who would be interested, and they have the aptitude to want to do the work. Because again, they may not have experience in the field. A couple things that we do once we have a candidate is we do have an aptitude assessment that we have them complete. It's not to weed them out or anything like that. It's really just to understand where their strengths and weaknesses are, so we know where we may need to provide additional support during the apprenticeship. It's like basic math, reading, print measurements, and print reading and simple measurements. Of course, also that tour they we talked about, so they can see the facility in which they'll be working. They get opportunity to meet the maintenance manager or the mentors that they'll be working with, and we will make an offer, and if we give them time to reflect on that, and hopefully that they'll accept it. And once they're on site, really the biggest, I guess the most important aspect is the mentor selection process, or mentors. Want to make sure we don't burn any one person out. So we definitely appreciate the opportunity to provide the apprentice with different perspectives of how to do the work safely and effectively. But working with our plant leadership, our plant management leadership or operations, to make sure we have the right talent selected to be mentors. And so we can provide somewhat of a rotation, so we don't over depend on one individual, but spread that work out. But much of that, aside from the mentor selection part, are things that we do when we're sourcing talent today, or bringing people in turn, or hiring people today, maybe with the exception of the job fairs and all of the additional touch points that would look to find the talent.
Corey, you want to address what would have been nice to know? What you kind of wish you knew, when you were getting started, before you got started, that could help people think through as they get started?
Gosh, I wish I'd known you existed before I started. Just filling around on the internet to try to find how to get started with this. But once I learned how many roles are actually apprenticeable, and there are a lot, I really wish I could have done them all at the same time. So maybe create something for people who've never worked in manufacturing at all. Like, what does that look like? Or distribution, our powered industrial truck drivers, perhaps an apprenticeship around that. So we have a lot of additional opportunities to really to put the structure around the training of the talent. And I think that's what our organization was surprised most is how come our roles don't already do this? So we really would like to have this type of structure around all of our roles. So we know clearly what the work that needs to be done, how to do it safely, how to do it effectively. Um, yeah, so it's been a great experience, but I wish I'd done more roles at the start than just the one occupation that we did for maintenance mechanics.
So far, you've done maintenance mechanics, and we also worked with you in building out a piece that was specific to your blow molding
Correct.
in plastics. It's a different. It's a obviously it's a different industry sector,
Mhm.
but I have a feeling your industrial maintenance work is going to be pretty similar to what the needs would be in kitchen cabinet manufacturing as well, depending on the kind of operation it is. So your expertise would be really valuable there. Shania, anything on you'd want to add on things you've learned or or what you're doing and getting started?
Ah, I mean, things I've learned is everything. Every just every aspect. I think one thing that's great is you gave us or gave me a sheet basically that like from the states, obviously each state has different guidelines. But it just really breaks down what is needed. So it's nice to have that checklist to make sure you're crossing everything off. I definitely recommend having that on hand just to keep track, just because there is a lot that goes into it and you have to turn in and edit and all that good stuff. So I think that for me, that was definitely super helpful. And then just everything has just been a learning curve for sure.
Well, it's been good to work with you as well as your team in HR, and I think you've gotten operations involved as well there um, to verify everything and to get things working. I will say to Corey's point that the services of Jobs for the Future are through a contract that we have. It's actually through the U.S. Department of Labor, but U.S. Department of Labor is not going to call in. Our job is to help you through that and to make that happen. And because we are funded in this way, you as taxpayers have already paid for it. So our services don't cost anything. What we look for is just to do support in ways that make sense for you as industry, that get apprenticeships up and running, will help to make the connections to education providers, will help prepare things for Department of Labor to be reviewing and figure out those pieces. And so it's really part and parcel of what we do. We do have, please keep putting please keep putting the questions in. We did get a question. It's a terrific one. What are the elements that differentiate those programs that are registered and those that are not? So it is very perceptive that there are lots of apprenticeships out there that are not registered apprenticeships. It's kind of like if you are, it's kind of like if you are a, a mechanic and you are out there, but you're not an ASE mechanic. That you can be a mechanic that way, but it's not. But it's not certified in that way. A registered apprenticeship means that it's taken that steps to really be that gold standard. It puts those elements together: paid job, on-the-job training, related instruction. There's an emphasis on openness and inclusiveness to populations, and Corey, you really spoke to the importance of that kind of outreach. By registering it, what you're doing is that you're assuring that you are meeting those standards. You can people are earning a credential. The other thing that's out there that registration does is that it tends to open up a ready source of funding in many locations. So in many states, there is funding to support apprenticeship programs that can pay for training, that can pay for your expenses, but especially that training piece of it. Shania, that's certainly something that we're planning to apply for in Massachusetts on your behalf. And Jobs for the Future, actually, it's not a huge amount, but we do have incentive funding. Corey, how much has Highland Warren gotten from incentives for your registrations?
We got $10,000, of which
Okay.
I've spent all of it.
And I mean, it's, that's not it's not gonna take your whole team to Hawaii, but it's nice to be able to offer that. And then I know you're accessing some state funds and other places that you're able to get that too. So there's several reasons why you would want to register a program like that. Any other questions?
Brent?
Betsy, yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I haven't listened to the whole thing. I've been interrupted a couple of times. Did you mention that we are also putting together a second apprenticeship?
We did speak to industrial maintenance as that key role, maintenance technicians. And Corey, I expect it's going to look quite similar to. There's actually two roles that we've discussed. One is more of a manufacturing technician that could do basic production work. That could be done in a year. Your maintenance mechanic positions, Corey, there's no way somebody will be able to finish that in a year, right? But you've got a 3-year program for that. You want to talk a little bit about what you do with that, because we would be adjusting something that would be similar for that and that we have intended for maintenance workers.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, yeah, our primary occupations are electromechanical technicians, two versions of that. Very similar to the industrial maintenance role that you mentioned. The big part was outlining all of the requirements. So, the electrical system training that would be needed, hydraulics, pneumatics, pumps, motors, the safety, the communication, the print reading. So all the on-the-job training and related instruction that we require for those roles, and then also refrigeration and polymer for the blow molding lines and for the bottle making that we do. And then what we did with the on-the-job training, of course we kind of shot that out with the community colleges that we're partnering with, as well as tooling you for the online component, since we're offering a blended approach, or either or approach for people that are participating. And we work with those providers to say, hey, map your content to our program. And everyone's been super excited to work with us to do that work. It makes it really easy for us to say, okay, if Jim, if you're in Memphis, you're going to go to Southwest Community College. Here are the courses that they offer that align with our program. If there are any gaps, we can fill those with tooling you. Or if you want to do tooling you 100%, you can do that as well. That's just the knowledge transfer. The hands-on experience is going to be within the facility with our team members, or with the mentors rather.
That's great, Corey. And Tooling You is an online resource, and actually Master Millwork's been reviewing that also to be able to apply to some of the training. We just have a few more minutes. Corey, you want to talk a little bit about the difference that apprenticeship has made to your company? Has it made a difference in company culture? You mentioned the apprentices that have gone through have stayed with you.
Yes, I think one of the key things I thought was most important during the process of kind of kicking the program off was getting with our leaders and saying, this is what we think is the best path forward, gaining that alignment, and then also having them, evangelize the program internally also. So what we're starting to get are, people reaching out to me directly, like say, hey, I like to be a part of that. I'm like, well, you got to wait till there's a posting, or we're not in your state just yet. But it has created an excitement and a buzz, because it's a career path opportunity for existing employees as well. Folks are really excited about an opportunity to step into a new role, learn something new that they may not necessarily have the skills for today, but to know that we'll support them in learning, and provide the education to support that. And then it's a career path for within the organization as well. And since we have a large footprint, that means they could probably grow and move into a different space if a promotion opportunity presented itself in that manner. So it's really generated excitement about career trajectory, career training, if you will, and why aren't we doing that for all of our roles? So that's what I've done to myself now, Brent. It's like, well, we got to do that for every role now, which is we're on our way there, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah, well, a couple of things strike me from what your experience has been. One is I've had a chance to meet, we had a chance to present to your senior leadership about the program and everything, and they're totally on board and have seen the value of that, have budgeted for training, for example, to get there and to build that out and made Corey a star. The other is I have been to one of your locations in Oregon. I got to meet a couple of your skilled maintenance workers. They're awesome. They obviously keep the machines running and everything, and prevent, make it so they you don't have to get service calls nearly as often from vendors or from outside that costs a lot of money, and keep your operations rolling too, keep machines running. But I also noticed that a lot of them had been there a really long time, were ready to retire, and it's how important it's going to be to have them transfer that knowledge they've picked up to apprentices that are starting in that role. And that's what apprenticeship should help to do, right?
Yeah, all those things. A good chunk of our specifically maintenance managers have been with our organization for a very long time, as you mentioned. So a lot of them are knocking at retirement's door.
Well, I want to let you know your next steps then. Lisa has shared a link to more information about the apprenticeship program, and there's a form there that we ask that you fill out. That's the best way that we can capture your information and make sure that we're getting back to you in a timely manner. And what we would do is just have a consultation. And then to become an apprenticeship sponsor, there's some steps that we'll walk through. When you do contact us, we'll set up a consultation, and we're going to talk about your workforce needs. I'm going to listen to what you have available, what your goals would be, which occupations you really need. We'll share those model standards for you to review and go through. We'll be modifying those to match what your operation is about. We'll connect you with a training provider that could be a community college. It could be an online source like Tooling U is mentioned, to be able to get things going and really work you through what it would take to apply in your state or federally for registration, to be able to get that going. Help you with the steps then in rolling that out and forming your team, having a selection process, finding your mentors and identifying them, and then finding some support and training to be able to make that happen too. So it's a process that we do go through. As noted, that first step can take can take really a couple of meetings, and then we're into the thick of it. And in the case of Master Millwork, I think in 3 to 6 months time frame that you'll be up and running with that as an example for that. And so here is my information. Feel free to reach out anyway, but the best is probably to use that contact form that's there. And I'm going to ask Corey and Shania to give a last word. And then Betsy, if you're on, I would like to give you the very last word before we close out. Corey, last word you'd like to convey to people that might be on the fence about apprenticeship and how they should, if it's right for them?
I would encourage them to explore the option. I think it's the work that goes into building out the structure, if you will. I think that would perhaps become a template for you and how you may manage other roles within your organization. So I definitely would encourage you to give it a try. And then also just to echo what we've said before, partnering with you, Brent, you were a huge resource in helping us to address blind spots, avoid pitfalls, gain that internal alignment that we're looking for. So yeah, I would definitely give it a try. And it's not costing you anything. So, but maybe a little time.
No, it's definitely a great program, and I think it's a great way to promote growth within the company for every single employee. And kind of like Corey said before, you don't realize how many different types of positions and industries and departments can have an apprenticeship. So really, it is just a huge help for you and the managers in your departments when it comes to training. It definitely has a lot of pros, and I think it's definitely going to be worth it in the end for sure.
Well, I want to give my huge thanks to Corey and to Shania and your organizations. You both are great organizations to work with, and we really appreciate your sharing your time and your expertise and your experience with us. And also really pleased that apprenticeship is a solution that's working for you and that you're forging the way that way. Betsy, if you're on, I'd love to give you the last word.
Thank you. I'd just like to echo that and thank Shania and Corey for taking time out. And I know it is a busy schedule for you all. And I found this so informative to get feedback from both of you who have actually, been through the program or working your way through it. And thank you, Brent, for all you're doing for our industry. And I just look forward to seeing how this continues to unfold.
Well, with that, want to say goodbye to everybody, but doesn't have to be farewell. Just click on that form, and we can work on what steps would be for you to be able to get started toward that and taking a positive step toward that you can take. That's actually a solution on those workforce challenges.
And
Lisa.
I'm happy to say that we've already gotten our first request for a consult from this webinar. So people are taking your words to heart and are interested in speaking to you, Brent. So I have a feeling you're going to be busy over the next couple of weeks. Again, thanks to everyone for your participation. This will be posted to the KCMA website in the next day or two. We'll also share the slides with you. And if you have any questions or problems, again, click the link or feel free to email KCMA at info@kcma.org. Thanks to everybody and have a great afternoon.
Great. Good afternoon.